welcome back to the Rangers News YouTube channel. My name is James Black and I'm joined by Cameron Willis, and we're going to have a look back, to yesterday's 2-1 win over Hibs at Ibrox as Rangers got the post-split fixtures underway. Before we go into the game itself and kind of look at it in some detail though, Cammy's got an exciting opportunity he wants to kind of go through it. So, Cammy?
Yeah, obviously things on this channel have been a wee bit stop-start and stuff over the course of the last kind of 18 months, and we ramped it up during lockdown and then everything's open. It's difficult to get time to do this and also run the website. So we're in the hunt for somebody who has experience with the Adobe Creative Suite, who is confident and capable of presenting, potentially has a little bit of a journalism background, I don't know, but somebody who can come in and work with us on this channel, lead this channel, spend a little bit of time writing on the site as well, potentially, but yeah, split their time between the two, but largely have a focus on this because a lot of our time is spent focusing on the website and with the volume of work that we're producing, and it's something that James will attest to as well, it's very difficult to maintain both without it completely dominating our lives. So yeah, we're looking for somebody. If you think that you are capable of this, I'm kind of doing the Rangers News Henry Kissinger thing here with Rangers News wants you, but if you think that you can do it, I'll put my email address in the description, or James will put my email address in the description. Just email me any inquiry, any CV, anything. If somebody you know might be suited to this, obviously it would help if you were a Rangers supporter, but it's a very exciting time for Rangers, and yeah, we're delighted to announce that we're looking for somebody to kind of help steer this channel. So get in touch if that is you, and let us know if you're interested. But yeah, I'm sure we've got plenty to talk about with regards Rangers and Hibs yesterday anyway. So yeah, thanks for listening.
So yeah, that's corporate but over and done with. So
yeah.
Rangers 2, Hibernian 1, match day 34 in the Scottish Premiership. Joe Aribo and Ryan Kent scoring for Rangers, with Kevin Nisbet pulling one back for Hibs towards the end. Now the win set a new club record. It was the 34th consecutive game this season unbeaten, which beats the 33 games unbeaten that Rangers went to start the 1967-68 season, which in itself is just a bit like utterly mental. The Rangers dominated the game on paper, at least on the start, 65% possession, almost twice as many passes as Hibs. But I don't think that quite tells the kind of true story of the game itself. So, Cammy, just what was your initial thoughts on the game?
I thought Rangers were good in patches without being outstanding. I thought that Hibs had a role to play in the game. I think the management team at Rangers and that have talked very highly about Hibs before the match and after the match, and it's a testament to how they perform. But at the same time, I don't think Rangers really get out of kind of second or third gear. I thought that particularly in the early stages, it was very controlled and very composed. And I really, heading into this match, I thought this is the biggest potential banana skin for us. Obviously, we've still got to welcome Celtic at Ibrox, but I just thought the Hibs is a team that we generally kind of have struggled with. And yeah, we in the opening stages, I thought that we dominated, and we weren't frenetic, we weren't panicky, and we were composed and controlled. And when we went 1-0 up, I thought that we were good for it, and we didn't really look back. But as far as like swashbuckling Rangers performances go, I don't think this was the kind of pinnacle of it, but a good result, and yeah, against a competitive Hibs side who can play, and they do have good players, but there were some good performances from Rangers and some not so good performances from Rangers, but I think we'll go into that in more detail.
Now, the starting 11 itself was kind of as myself and Jordan predicted the back end of last week, with it being as strong a Rangers team as you could probably have put out yesterday. But the game itself, it had a very end of season, everything was kind of done feel to it. With there still being some really big games, we've got the Celtic game coming up next week at some point as we record this. It's still not been confirmed when it's going to be. Did that kind of surprise you a bit that there maybe wasn't that wee bit more zip and energy in Rangers play, with kind of so much still to come this season?
I see, like I said, just at the kind of start when I was talking about the match, it didn't surprise me. I thought that it would be a kind of the two teams feeling each other out and stuff. But I think Rangers should be commended for how much they controlled it in that opening stages and how they went through it. But yeah, I think as fans, you want to see that intensity and you want to see that relentlessness. But I mean, I'll take the win over the piece, obviously, but perhaps we could have kind of turned it up with bigger games to come and to kind of get that fire in our bellies ahead of the Celtic game. But a win is enough, and I'm sure heading into that match we'll be ready. But it was an interesting game. It was an enjoyable game as well. But yeah, I don't think Rangers kind of were going full throttle at all.
And Rangers' early dominance paid off Joe Aribo's goal after 20 minutes. Now, in and of itself, it was all a wee bit scrappy, but the finish for Aribo, just top draw stuff from a Nigerian.
He's a top player. I mean, he's I think that's his 8th goal. He continues to improve and impress. I think one of the biggest fears a lot of people have is of him imposing himself in midfield and becoming that really kind of dominant midfielder, which I think is the next step of his development. But in terms of composure, in terms of ability, in terms of like just raw silkiness, I think that there's probably no one better in the squad than Aribo. Maybe Ryan Kent can argue with that, and we'll go into that after. But it was interesting, that goal, because the keeper made a good save, a decent save from Kamara Roof from a Borna Barisic cross, and obviously Roof had scored as well. I thought there was questions whether that was offside or not. I wasn't entirely convinced, and I didn't see enough for the replays. There wasn't enough analysis of it to really make my mind up. But yeah, it was unlucky there. Comes out to Aribo, who picks it up and he starts the move. Patterson to Morelos whips it across, and yeah, just so composed inside the 18-yard box, cool as a cucumber, kind of sums the guy up, and great technique to finish it as well.
And then after that, the game kind of went into this spell about the next 10 minutes or so after that, where just nothing really happened. It felt like the game was over, the game was done. But then Hibs kind of started to spring to life just the last maybe 10, 15 minutes of the opening half, having a couple of chances at goal and kind of coming quite close. Were you worried they were going to get themselves back into the game before the break, or kind of have we seen it enough times this season that Rangers have that wee wobble, steady it up, and then you kind of just go on and cruise it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a fear of that Hibs because they've got decent forward players like Martin Boyle. I thought gave Barisic a bit of a torrid time. He got a yellow for diving in the first half. I thought it was a bit wild. I didn't think that was a yellow, but and then Nisbet obviously had that shot which flashed wide, and Big Doidge was playing as well. But I thought Philip Palanda, he obviously got man of the match in the end, handled them very well. But as close as Hibs were pressing us, I can't say that I was terrified they were going to find a real route back into the game like that. I thought Rangers were still kind of composed and controlled in the way that they were going about their business, even if Hibs were kind of working their way back into the game. But I like Nisbet, by the way. What do you think about him?
I'm a big fan of his. I was making the case 18 months ago, whenever it was, when he was still at Dunfermline, and Lawrence Shankland was at Dundee United, and Shankland got the call up to the Scotland squad. I'd have had Nisbet every day of the week ahead of him. I think he's a far more intelligent player. I think he's technically a far superior player, and I was really surprised Hibs kept a hold of him when Birmingham were sniffing about him. I'm very surprised he's still there. And I always felt was a player that we maybe missed out on, but at the same time, kind of with what would have been in front of my Ibrox, I can kind of see why we didn't go for him.
Might have like stifled his development a wee bit. I mean, he finds that wee bit of space. He drops off. He's got good movement in the box and stuff, and he's got an absolutely wicked shot on him as well, which is genuinely harder than it looks. When somebody strikes the ball the way Nisbet does, you take it for granted. It's not easy to kind of hit it like that hard and low all the time. And I thought he was unlucky not to score there when he put it past the post with McGregor. But no, I thought Rangers were good for it in the first half.
So second 45 starts with no changes, and again it's one of the games there's not much to write home about. It's two sides who Rangers knew that they just had to keep doing what they were doing, and they were going to likely see the game out. And Hibs had the opportunities without really having anything that kind of really had Rangers worried. I think you got the Hollywood McGregor save at one point later on, but You see the replays of that. That's one for the cameras. But then Kent made it 2-0, and it was an even better goal than Aribo's.
Oh, it was absolutely outstanding. I think it's the two midfielders, Newell and Gogic, that he leaves for dead. Like, yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, they if you're a Hibs fan or you're one of the Hibs coaches, you're fuming because they're nowhere near him. Like, and even when he comes in, I think Doig goes in to cover the right back. But I mean, he's starting on the left wing, he's picking up on the right. You know what I mean? And I thought he did that all game. He was picking out the ball and driving with it, and he does that all the time. Even in games that isn't playing well, he's never scared to get on the ball. He takes a lot of responsibility for driving Rangers up the pitch, and I mean, it just looked so effortless. You know what I mean? He just doing a wee step over the flash, and you know what he's going to do as soon as he starts cutting in, and you know that he's aiming for that corner, and they still couldn't stop him. And I mean, there's obviously been a lot said as well. I wrote something on this earlier. A lot said about like Scott Wright, and I think Rangers fans have got the right to be excited about him. But do you think sometimes Kent's is a little bit underappreciated? Because I think he's made, I think it's 13 goals or 12 goals and 13 assists or 12 assists. It's one or the other. So 25 goal contributions this season from left wing. It's very impressive statistics. I know he had a lull in performance, but it's one or two things for me. Do you think he's underappreciated, or do you think that we hold him to a higher standard?
I think he's held to a higher standard, partly because the transfer fee attached to him, and I know that Kent has nothing to do with that, but it's just one of these natural things that come with it. But I think at the same time, when you see not necessarily how many opportunities Ryan Kent's given, because it's not as if he's not in the side and like on a deserving basis. But when you see how often he is in the side, those are the kind of numbers that a Rangers winger should be posting.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I agree, but it's still not easy. He's still got to do it. You know, he's still got to do it, and he's a big game player. You know, he's whilst he might drift in and out of it at times, against the big teams, he repeatedly turns up and be that scoring or assisting or just having an impact in the game. And I thought he was very good yesterday as well. And he never lets you get him down. He never puts his head down. He can use both feet. For me, I probably think that he is the most talented player in the division. You know, I think that just in raw ability, I don't think there's anybody better than Ryan Kent in Scotland.
For me, it's Morelos.
I mean, it's there as well.
I know it's kind of become a little bit of a running gag that I've got my thing for Yanis Hadji, but no, in terms of kind of all-round football and ability, I think Morelos is, and it's funny to say this about Rangers' all-time greatest European goal scorer, but I think he's hugely underrated as a footballer. He's got this thing where he's a goal scorer and he's somebody who's very good at out-muscling players, but I think there's so much more to his game than that. I think you've seen it yesterday in long spells. I think his link-up play at times is fantastic. And the way he brings other players into the game. I think Kent in particular, someone who does really benefit from Morelos. Because when you see Morelos drifting, he's got this habit of drifting wide in the right. And it opens up that wee bit more space for Kent to work into. But I know he's definitely up there, but for me, it's Morelos.
I mean, it's close. It's a real toss. They're both brilliant players. I mean, talking about bringing people into play, there was actually a moment. I mean, Morelos didn't have his big greatest game yesterday, and he went off with his kind of signature sulk at the end of the game. But he pings the ball across to Nathan Patterson, and I don't think anything really came of the play. But it was an absolute. It just takes a touch, which initially I thought was too big for him, or he touched it too kind of wide, and the player was going to intercept it, and he just spun and pinged it. He's got great vision, Morelos. I agree with you. He's very underrated player, which sounds strange for somebody like him, but yeah, he's a top player as well. But I think there's no one else in the division that can do what Ryan Kent done yesterday. You know, it's everything. It's both feet. It's the ability to go past somebody, the explosive burst of pace, and not just that, but the long range shot. You know, and I just think the combination of everything makes him a genuinely lethal player. And I think there might be a lot of interest in him. Hopefully he fancies a crack at Champions League first. But yeah, he's a very, very good player, and it's great to see him getting greater numbers, because that was the biggest kind of gripe that Rangers fans had with him.
At 2-0, it felt like it was game over, but Hibs made a bit of a game after that. Kevin Nisbet getting a goal, and it was certainly wasn't plain sailing, at least for a spell. Was there fears that they were going to get back into it?
I mean, they're not like led by Ryan Proteus, being their like kind of normally aggressive selves, try to impose themselves in the match, and he had a goal disallowed. And I think it was harsh, right? Because Helander just kind of goes over quite easy. But, right, and I will say this, if that's another player, right, or it's maybe wearing a different shirt, the reaction might be Helander's been very smart there. He's felt the contact, he's bought the contact, and he's went down. And genuinely, I believe that's what's happened. I mean, from the angle the referee's standing, I think when Helander's, when Porteous has come in, Helander's realised that he's either A, going to score, or B, he's going to miss it, but Helander won't get the ball. So I thought it was very intelligent from Helander to kind of go over the way that he did, and it worked because the goal was disallowed. But yeah, I was just kind of scrutinising referees in the back of it. But I mean, I think on first glance from where Robertson was standing, the way that Helander kind of bought the contact, I thought it was smart, and it kind of saved their skin. But the Nisbet header was a really, really nice header as well. But yeah, they started ramping it up, but once it entered the very latter stages, the nerves kind of jangled away from me a wee bit. It wasn't as nervy, but they were always in with a shout of pegging one back. But for me, it wouldn't have even been the end of the world. I think the reason why I was so relaxed heading into that final kind of stages was because it would have taken something monumental to beat us. And the only thing, I mean, winning is great, and we maintain a remarkable record at home this season, but the only thing is staying unbeaten. So in terms of kind of crapping myself, it wasn't really like that at all.
So you mentioned Philip Helander there, so I need to ask the question that's the big talking point on Twitter. Is he the best Swedish player to grace Scottish football?
Of course, I've got to say that, don't I? But oh, what a player he is! Like, he's an amazing defender. He's amazing. I seen somebody tweeting, they were talking about how his lack of pace is overstated, and I think something a wee bit cliche for the guy. He very rarely gets caught out. He's commanding in the air. He's actually decent with the ball at his feet. He's not amazing. It's not what he's in the team for, but he's reliable. And I think
that was his 30th league game as a Rangers player without losing.
That's so impressive. So impressive. I mean, as well, he's now that kind of number one alongside Victor Lindelof with Sweden, which I think before he came to Rangers, he was in and out of that squad. I think his development at Rangers is clear to see at that level, and he's a top defender. And I think it's unarguable that the best pairing is Goldson and Helander now. I know Balogun is a good player and reliable player, but I just think Helander's just got a kind of defensive ability that's beyond that.
Well, game finished 2-1. What other kind of positive performances were there coming away from it?
I think the main one was probably Nathan Patterson's. I think Gerrard touched on it after the game in the battle with Josh Doig, and it's interesting. Josh Doig's been linked to the likes of Leicester, Arsenal, Man City, Leeds, etc. So the fact that they were suggesting that Patterson had pipped him maybe shows you the kind of level of talent that we've got in him, and he continues to impress every game. You know, for somebody that young to come in and play for Rangers is a remarkably influential kind of position and role on the pitch when you consider the way that Tavernier plays, and just slot in seamlessly without any real kind of mistake or any real lack of composure. I feel as if he's growing in confidence with every match. So at the start, maybe kind of looked like a wee bit like Bambi on ice, even if he didn't make any mistakes. And I kind of remember him coming against Antwerp, and he was kind of a little bit nervous. But now he just looks like he's exuding confidence, and I think the management of him has been good. He impressed me. I thought Rebo was good. It was good to see Kemar Roof back on the pitch getting more minutes. I think without being outstanding, he was unlucky not to score Roof in the first half. And yeah, I thought it was a decent performance. In terms of players that I thought kind of let us down, maybe Barisic, I thought had a poor game. He was maybe targeted by Hibs, but he's prone maybe to having the odd bad game. And when he's been targeted like that, you need him to be on his game. And he wasn't really. But and Morelos maybe just in the final third, not his usual self. But what about?
I was impressed with Morelos yesterday. I thought he had a good shift. I thought the second half he kind of came out of it a little bit. I think first half he done a kind of lot. I think he done a lot that allowed Roof to kind of play a bit more centrally.
It's interesting link up between them two because at one point right? They played like it should have been a 1-2, and it seems as if there's just something a little bit off. I think you can get excited about it, but both of them are really that kind of instinctual striker, and I think there was maybe just a wee bit of a disconnect with 1-2s and stuff, and I think maybe need to work on it, but it's a good problem to have because they're both good players.
I asked Jordan this on Saturday's preview for the Hibs game, where the trio of Morelos, Roof, and Ryan Kent. So if that is Rangers' kind of strongest front three, do you persist with that over the next 4 or 5 games, just so you're getting that repetition, that relationship, and kind of you're building that chemistry between particularly Morelos and Roof, who do look a little bit at odds sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense, particularly when you think it's going to be a short pre-season and we're going to be right back into it again. And that we've still got so much to play for. I'd be surprised that, particularly in the bigger games, because there is a level of rotation at Rangers that allows people to play and makes sense because of how much effort they're putting in. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a very similar lineup, particularly those front three against Celtic next weekend. I think that's probably, like you say, on paper, it's our strongest, but it hasn't fully got firing yet. So yeah, maybe play it more often. I certainly think it's the front three that'll be at the front of Gerrard's mind heading into the Old Firm, but things might change over the course of the week.
And just there's a wee bit of injury news coming out of the game with Gerrard confirming that Leon Balogun's likely to miss a few weeks. Tavernier's still pushing for a return against Celtic next week, and nothing seems to have changed in the Ryan Jack front. And that they were supposed to have a Zoom call on Friday, I believe, and going by what Gerrard was saying yesterday, that didn't happen. So just how big a loss is Balogun going to be, just even in terms of the general squad for the Celtic game next week, and if Tavernier's approaching being fit. Do you take the gamble on them at Celtic Park next week, or Ibrox next weekend, sorry, against Celtic? Or do you stick with Patterson knowing that you've got St Johnstone a matter of days later in the league?
I would stick with Patterson unless Tavernier proves his fitness. I don't think that they would take that risk. I think that Tavernier would need to be there or thereabouts, or as fit as he possibly could be before they would throw him in. I can't see that happening. Although by the sounds of things, he said he had an outside chance. I don't know if that's kind of playing it in the Celtic camp, maybe casting like aspersions on our team. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. It's never really been the case with Rangers. I think they've normally been with Steven Gerrard and that have normally been kind of straight laced with injuries and stuff. So
there's no many times I can think of when we've said somebody might not play and the surprises on come back and played. It's normally the other way with us.
So I think it'll be Patterson. I just for continuity and the fact that there's them injuries. What about you?
I know. I think it'll be the same. I wrote something this morning saying exactly that. I think it's too big a gamble now that Balogun is out as well. You're potentially losing Patterson for the St Johnstone game, possibly a cup game, and then 2 more league games. It's too big a gamble to throw Tavernier in against Celtic and risk losing them for those games with who's your next option. Ryan Jack's also out, so you can't. I mean, literally the first 4 players you would go to in that squad as options for right back: Tavernier, Patterson, Balogun, Ryan Jack. All four could be out.
That's mad, isn't it? I'd be interested. Well, if you get this one over the line and then maybe kind of reassess where we're at with it there. But I'm sure there's players. I mean, I can imagine even Scott Arthur will be able to play there because he's formerly a right midfielder and he's quite industrious. So if we had to go deep into the squad, I think that we can. But it's obviously not ideal if we're doing that for the Celtic game. But after all, they are the greatest team in the country. Apparently, did you read that? Oh my God!
Apparently so. Big JK's giving it big looks this week.
No, it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, I can't wait to find out when it's going to actually be played. I can't see it being played this Saturday now, but I mean, I might by the time somebody's watching this, it might have been rescheduled later in the evening. So I've got no idea, but it's the biggest game that's left of the season, really. I mean, the next round in the Scottish Cup will be even bigger because we're going to win it, but it's the idea that the team that's the second best team in Scotland, no matter what John Kennedy says, you can knock them out at this stage of the competition and then you've got a free run at it. Well, not free run. It's going to be difficult because there's still some good teams in Scotland, but you take out your biggest challenger at this stage. I think it's a huge game, one to look forward to.
Magic, anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, but if you're watching this and I'm just going to give you a reminder to the beginning of the video where we notified you of a kind of job opening to help us work on the YouTube channel and on the website. So send me an email below if you're interested or you would like to know more information.
Magic. So just like to remind everybody also to like and subscribe. Feel free to have a look back at some of our previous videos, and thanks for watching.